Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Landy Lodge. It's been a couple of weeks, been cooling off after our run a few weeks ago. But we are back. We are back in action, and we are talking about none other than Square Enix and their latest announcements they've made, and what the future outlook looks like for the company and the games they're going to be releasing. Without further ado, though, first, let me give a shout out to the Sages of the Lodge. Those of you who are channel members, currently revamping the sort of channel member intro, so just be patient with that. We'll have something real cool soon. But a lot of love and shout out to you guys who are channel members and support the show. But like I always say to you guys, all that is a bonus. All I ask is that you come to hang out. So on today's episode, we're going to be talking again all Square Enix, HD-2D, their plans for the future, and joining us for today's episode is none other than the great, the magnificent, the charismatic Andy Brew. Andy, what's going on, man? Welcome back to the show. How's it going?
It's good, man. Always excited to be in the Landy Lodge for a podcast. We've got a good one today, I think. HD2D is taking over the Square Enix corporate offices, and it's a good thing, and it should be seen as a good thing, not a bad thing. So I'm excited. I'm excited to dive on in, man.
Yeah, I think, we mentioned just before we started rolling, we did a whole Octopath episode about a year and a half ago. Shame on us. We should be doing more of those, honestly. There's plenty to discuss within these games. But before we start talking about all of Square Enix's announcements, again, Octopath Zero, Dragon Quest 1 and 2 on the way, Tales of Elliot, again, plenty to discuss. But I feel like, when the first Octopath was announced, this seemed to be sort of a niche approach for Square Enix, right? This is before the Final Fantasy Pixel remasters. This is before Live Alive got remastered. Octopath 1 was really sort of this niche, make you feel like the old school Square Enix kind of game. Then the second one came out, which, again, you and I could gush about it all day. We'll certainly gush about it here. But it seems very obvious to me that the consequence of the success of Octopath 1 and 2, Dragon Quest 3, and the Final Fantasy Pixel remasters says to me that this HD-2D approach is now going to be the norm at Square Enix, and these big AAA titles, the FF7s, the FF16, the Kingdom Hearts 4, that's more of the exception. They're not going anywhere, but it seems like you're going to have 2 or 3 HD-2D titles for every one AAA title. And personally, I think that's the smartest move Square Enix could make, but what's your take on it, Andy?
Yeah, no, I'm with you, especially just looking back at the last few years at Square Enix. Final Fantasy 16, for example, sold what 3 million in its first, I don't know how many months it was, but like within the year it sold 3 or 4 million. They said it didn't meet their expectations. FF7 Rebirth comes out, and again, these are two highly anticipated Square Enix games. Within like just a heavy, like a very heavy fan base. There's a lot of Final Fantasy fans out there. There's a lot of people love these games, but then FF7 Rebirth comes out and they say, "Oh, it didn't meet our expectations," which makes me think they actually lost money on both of those games. And those games, especially if you played FF16 and you have experienced the highs of those games, those are some pretty big budget highs. Okay, like there's a lot of budget going into a lot of those fights. So they're not cheap to make. And I think what Square Enix needs to do right now, which is what it seems like they're doing, and I I genuinely think it's a good thing. And I think it's the best direction that they could go right now is moving more on an HD-2D focus. And I'm not just saying that because I'm a huge Octopath fan and I love just like the HD-2D style. Like I love Octopath. I love Triangle Strategy. I have not played any of the Dragon Quests yet, but I'm very interested in them. But I think it's going to be something that it will help Square Enix kind of get back on their feet a little bit. The only issue is there's a lot of people who it's like, oh, but I don't want this. Like, I just want the big hitters. I just want the Final Fantasies. I just want the Kingdom Hearts. But like, if that's it, then Square Enix is going to sink. dude. Like, and I'm not saying go and purchase a game that you're not interested in just to help Square Enix out. Like, it has to be a game you're interested in. But what I am saying is give some of these HD-2D titles a chance. I feel like a lot of people, they see HD-2D and they're like, oh, this looks like it could be like a Game Boy game. That was a comment I got on a video of mine. Like, oh, this looks like, it just doesn't look like the graphics, right? It just doesn't look like it would be a game that would be good because it looks pixelated or whatever. And I would just challenge you guys, give it a shot, because especially Octopath, if you are somebody who is a turn-based RPG enthusiast and you want like a little bit of a twist on the gameplay front, Octopath is perfect for you because it brings back it gives you the charm of classic turn-based RPGs, but it also has its own system of like the break system and the boosting, and so it's unique to Octopath, which I think makes it incredibly fun. Not to mention, both games have great characters. Octopath 2, I think, shines way more vibrantly than the first game, and I do like the first game a lot. But I think people need to give these games a chance, and I think having that mindset of like, oh, it just looks like a Game Boy game, with like pixelated graphics. Like, why would I want to buy this? I feel like that is just a shallow mindset to have, because these games are truly something awesome. And I think because of the direction that they're going, right? Because we've got Tales of Elliot and Octopath Zero that was announced, and they're not as costly to make as your Final Fantasies, your Kingdom Hearts 4s. I know.
And you can make them quicker. And you can make them quicker.
And you can make them quicker. Octopath 2 came out in 2023. We're getting another Octopath game at the end of 2025, less than 3 years. I'm just saying, like, I know people want Kingdom Hearts and Final Fantasy and whatever it is, but give these games a chance. And because they're not as costly to make, and I really think that if people give them a chance, it could be really good for Square Enix. But again, you have to. I'm not saying don't play a game that you're not. Don't buy a game if you're not interested in it. You should, but I'm saying give it a chance. There's demos. There's a demo for Tales of Elliot out right now. There's an Octopath 2 demo that lets you play like 5 hours of the game. Give it a shot. See what you think. I'm done right now.
You're good, dude. You're good. I mean, dude, that's one hell of an Andy Blue rant.
I have a lot to say, right? I have a lot to say, so yeah.
But I want to actually address a couple of things you brought up there, because I think you raised a lot of good points. One being that the idea that graphics could deter someone from something like this. Look, I get it. If really what you're into is the hyper-realism and things that look as realistic and anthropomorphic as possible, sure. But the reason why people like myself, or maybe you, Andy, have a certain affinity for pixel art is because it never ages, right? Like, the Super Mario World looks as good today as it did the day it came out. But Super Mario 64 today looks very polygonal, very blocky. You can see its age. But the thing is, it's not just about graphics in this world. It's about art style. And the certain art styles that can be achieved through pixel art simply can't be replicated through a more modern sort of visual aesthetic that doesn't have the very obvious pixels on screen that kind of mask that a little bit better and lean into the realism. I honestly think that Octopath 2 is a better looking game than 90% of the games that are on the market right now. I think it looks better.
I agree.
I think the way the battle sequences and the graphics and the explosions and the animations, all of it is so clean, so crisp. You'll never see a frame rate drop. Barely will. I played it on the Switch, the king of frame rate drops. Barely saw a frame rate drop.
Not to say I didn't have a single one.
Not to say it's beautifully optimized. And that's the thing, is I feel like what the devs of Octopath understand, I'm not even going to give Square Enix credit for this. What the devs of Octopath understand is why this pixel era was such a golden boon for video gaming. It's bringing it back to, this is more about gameplay, not about flashy graphics. And, I wanted to touch on, by the way, shout out to Data Rich in the chat. who clearly knows the difference between Landy and Andy. I want to give him a lot of credit for that. He's a very, very bright individual, that Data Rich. And he's an Octopath fan. So major points here. Major points for Data Rich. But, something else that you brought up is, the budgeting. Obviously, this game is a lot cheaper and quicker to make than a Rebirth or an FF16. Keep in mind, the first Octopath sold between 3 and 4 million copies. And Octopath 2 sold about 2 million copies. Now, look, 4 million copies is a lot of copies. I know Square Enix, when Rebirth sells 5 million and 16 sells 4 million, they're like, oh, it didn't meet our expectations. Listen, 4 to 5 million copies being sold, that's more than enough to create a profitable product. But it has to be scaled back. And the big thing to me, dude, and this is, I think Square Enix needs to fall out of love with CGI cutscenes. CGI cutscenes were such a big deal in the PS2 era because the in-game graphics didn't quite capture the artist's vision. So they invested money into these, like, again, Kingdom Hearts fans here. Think about the opening movie of KH1. They invest into these beautiful-looking Pixar-level CGI cutscenes.
Secret ending, dude. Like, one of the best CG cutscenes that we've gotten from Square Enix, to date.
Today, it looks stunning. It looks beautiful. And to be fair, I think there was more of a place for it back in the old days when graphics did not look as good. And, the artist wants to see their vision in the best looking way possible. So I get it. But with the graphics we have today, they don't need the CGI. Use the in-game graphics. Have you seen Clive? Have you seen Tifa? Have you seen the way these characters look in battle? We don't need to do this pre-rendered CGI major blockbuster film level Pixar cutscenes anymore. The graphics look good. Lean into them. Save your money, Square. I'm telling you right now, if Rebirth didn't have CGI cutscenes, it's a profitable game. You could change nothing else about the budget. I would bet so much money you get rid of CGI and just use in-game graphics. Rebirth is an immensely profitable game. I'm telling you, this is, when I look at Square Enix and the games they're making and what they consider profitable and what they don't, I'm seeing a pattern here. Whatever studios are splurging on CGI, I mean, for instance, I'm going to go to my soapbox here and then we can move on to some of the announcements, but Final Fantasy XIV might be the biggest game in Square Enix's history. And the only CGI you get is the opening movie of each expansion. That's it. That's it. It is one of the most profitable and biggest games to ever exist, biggest MMO on the planet, and that studio is not splurging on as many CGI cutscenes to make the player happy as possible. They're focusing on gameplay, narrative, the things that actually make us happy in the long run. So, personally, I think personally, when it comes to scaling back, forget the CGI. These pixelated sprites look great. The in-game graphics of Rebirth and 16 look great. Cut the CGI. It's not the PS2 days anymore. I actually think in-game Sora looked better than CGI Sora in KH3. My opinion. But I'll leave it at that. Do you want to, maybe comment on anything before we move on to the announcements?
Yeah. No, I think you brought up a couple of good points with just even going back to the sales thing. I think when people think 1 million in sales, a lot of people who maybe the only games that they play are big AAA bunch of games, like The Last of Us, right? Final Fantasy, Call of Duty. It's you hear there's an expectation of oh, if a game doesn't sell 5 million copies, it's a flop. It's no, that's not how this works.
Can I give an example?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Stellar Blade has sold a total of 3 million copies. The CEO of Shift Up is now one of the richest men in all of South Korea.
Yes. And I think it was Shift Up where the CEO was able to give the employees a Christmas bonus of I think it was cash and everyone got a PS5.
Yep.
And it's dude, and it's so what'd you say, 3 million?
3 million.
To date?
3 million.
3 million at least. Yeah. Which is really good, especially because that was their first like console, because they only did mobile games before. Correct me if I'm wrong. That
You're
was
right.
their first console exclusive game, and it did so well. Well, it's also because the game is good too, you know. But like you were saying, it's like Octopath is selling, having 5 million sales across the board is huge, dude. That's
Huge.
freaking huge. And
Huge.
like I saw like a lot of people, I saw people say, because there was somebody on Twitter was talking about like Octopath sales, um and there was, I just saw somebody say like, well, if Square Enix would have promoted it better, maybe it wouldn't have been sad in comparison to the first game. And so I'm just like, I didn't say anything, but it's like, okay, yeah, maybe you could have
But
promoted, like
but
Square
also
could have promoted it more.
sequels
I do
just
agree
don't
with that.
sequels also just don't outsell the original. Like KH1 outsold KH2.
Yes,
It just
yes.
typically the sequel you sell less because people have to go to the first game first and then make their way
Yeah.
over.
And typically, I mean, sometimes that does happen though, because Kingdom Hearts 3 is the best-selling Kingdom Hearts game in the series.
But that's because it was a whole generation later. It might as well have been KH1 for a whole new wave of fans. That's really the thing.
Yes, and I do know. I'm not sure. Like, so just as an example, I can't remember. I don't know what the sales for the first Last of Us game were, but I know pre-order sales for the Last of Us Part 2. It was like 4 to 5 million in pre-order sales alone.
Yeah, huge.
And so, but it's because it's a sequel to like a masterpiece of a first game, And so Octopath, like it's not like it's niche, right? So I'm not really expecting it to sell as much as Octopath 1. And Octopath 1's been out since 2018. So, of course, it's historically going to have a little bit more sales, right? Even though, like, at the beginning of that launch is whenever you make, like, the most of your sales and whenever you make the most of your money.
Mhm.
But I don't know. It's just, I saw people talking about it. I'm like, this is like 1 million for an Octopath game is good.
That's a
it
lot.
was the same with within the first year, like
Dude.
Triangle Strategy. When that game came out, same dev team sold 1 million copies, and I'm like, this is huge. That's huge for them, dude.
And just to bring it back, to put it in perspective, right? These aren't AAA games, so they don't have AAA budgets. Stellar Blade, when it sold 1 million copies, they were 64 million in the green. Again, standard deviation there. I may not have the exact number right, but they were tens of millions of dollars in the green based on $1 million in sales. Now, look, you and I have both played Stellar Blade. Here's all I'm going to say is if they can turn that kind of profit on a Stellar Blade level game, there's no reason Square Enix can't do it with a Final Fantasy.
I agree.
You can make Stellar Blade 5 hours longer, throw in some Moogles and a Chocobo, and you could call it a Final Fantasy game. Give it a spin-off one, like a Stranger of Paradise-esque, but like if you could turn tens of millions of dollars in profit from 1 million in sales for a game like Stellar Blade, which if you noticed, Andy, no CGI cutscenes. Every cutscene is the in-game graphics. Then there's no reason Square Enix can't do that with their properties. Which, speaking of which, I've got the Octopath Traveler Zero trailer finally on the screen. I want your take on this, because I'm not going to shut up when it's my turn. So I want your take on this. What are you excited for? As an Octopath fan, is this what you've been asking for? Like, what is your general reaction to this?
Yeah, so I mean, I got to see more of it, of course, right? I think I was just thrilled that we're getting another Octopath game, but like soon. Like I thought, like okay, maybe we'll get another Octopath in like 2027.
That's what I thought.
That's kind of where I'm at, and I'm like, but because whenever they announced Tales of Elliot, originally I was like, dude, there's no way they're coming out with another Octopath, and it was Tales of Elliot. I'm like, oh, that looks amazing. I didn't think it was Octopath, but I did for a second, and then back to back, it's like, okay, here's Octopath, and I'm like, how? Like, why? Like, but I know, I don't even say how or what. Like, I know why they're doing it. I think I'm definitely most excited to like create my own character and have that be like a thing in Octopath. And it seems like from the trailer, so I'm guessing the Octopath 2 cast is probably going to be in it, but the Octopath 1 cast is there. They are in the trailer. They are fighting. Like Tressa and Cyrus are there, like fighting. And I'm like, what the heck? And originally, I thought that it might have been like, oh, like maybe you can just like dress your character up as like those characters, you know, and like, but it seems like you're actually going to be able to unlock them as party members because like their moves are like from the first game, you know, and things like that. It's like something they would do in the first game. Now, I'm very curious to see. So there's definitely some Champions of the Continent inspiration in it, and I think that is because, like, if you notice, there's 8 party members on the battlefield. And Champions of the Continent, it's a gotcha game. So I'm like, I don't think they're going to do that with Octopath Zero. I really hope they don't. But it was like at first glance, I'm like, please don't be a gotcha game. Like, please don't, because Champions of the Continent is a lot more tedious and slower in comparison to other gotcha games, and they can be pretty tedious, you know. But I love that they are incorporating that 8 player, that 8 party battle system, and it's probably so like how Champions of the Continent is, and if you remember how Octopath 2 is, and in the with the final boss, you have everybody in your party, but you can only control 4 of them at a time. But you can swap, you know, you pair them with another traveler, so you can swap between them, but you can have 8 in your party, like all doing things. So I'm really excited for that. And at first, I thought like that's something that could have been kind of messy, you know, like having like 8 party members in your party at one time. But then, like, kind of, you know, I dabbled in Champions of the Continent. I never really played much of it, but seeing like, you know, having it to where you actually are only controlling 4 at a time, it's a lot more user friendly and a lot less overwhelming. But it is fun to like have, you know, the ability to be like, oh, well, I have this guy like in my back pocket that I can just pull at any time, charging BP in the background. So it looks great. I'm very curious. I'm excited for like new characters, and I'm very curious to see like where they're going to go, because Champions of the Continent is like a prequel to the first Octopath, and it seems like this one is also a prequel. So I don't know, and like they're not really connected. You know, like the Octopath games aren't connected, like, you know, like how like Kingdom Hearts games are, for example. But like if you play Octopath 2, for example, um, you can. I'm gonna blank on what the book is actually called in the game, but it's part of Cyrus's quest in the first game. Oh, it's From the Far Reaches of Hell. That's what the book is called. So, like in the first Octopath game, a big part of Cyrus's story is looking for this copy of From the Far Reaches of Hell because somebody stole it, and they might open up like some kind of, you know, it's linked to the secret boss in the first game, and it's trouble. But you actually, as part of a side quest, you actually go and find a copy of that book in the second game. So there's like references, and there's like little things that are just like, oh, like it's connected but not really. It makes you think that way. I don't know how this is going to be. I'm just excited for just a new Octopath. The the combat. I mean, it looks, you know, 8 party, 8 character party looks great. And something that I noticed is like, I guess we're going to be like building houses. Like that was something that I'm like, that's new. Like that's like kind of cool. Like I get to have like a little hub. Like do I get to choose like what place I want to live in, like that I want to live in,
What I
things like
think,
that.
what I think is there's
Yeah,
a town that you're responsible for restoring. So I think it's
yeah,
about restoration. So I don't know if you're like picking a spot. I think you get put in this town. Maybe it was your old hometown and it burned down or something. Maybe Nibelheim
yeah,
levels of trauma happened, and now you need to
yeah,
rebuild it before Shinra comes in and does. Yeah, that's what it looks like to me.
yeah. So I'm just like, it's funny. Like I don't know if I'm excited for like a specific thing. I'm just happy that like a new Octopath game is coming out. You know, just as an Octopath fan, it's like, oh, like I'm eating good right now,
Well,
dude. Like
dude,
it was not on my bingo card for another couple years,
not only
dude. This
that,
is not.
dude, the
Yeah,
last time we talked about it, we were both ready to accept that it was just done for because Square announced we're downsizing. We're only going to do our
yeah,
flagship IPs. We're only going to do.
yeah,
So we thought that meant that series like Octopath might be cast to the wayside. So it's
yeah,
happy to see that with Square Enix's restructuring and their visions for the future, that Octopath is a part of that future. World Ends With You fans, hold your breath. We'll wait. We'll see if they make the cut. I'll say this. I'm happy I got even just Octopath. I'll say that. But this is a perfect example of giving me what I want before I even knew I did. Right? When I thought about the next Octopath game, no part of me was like, man, they really got to put in like a town restoration mechanic, That's what this game needs. Right. That was nowhere near on my mind. I'm like, just make, because Octopath 2's combat was my favorite part personally. I like the story, I like the characters, but to me the combat was actually it was the peak of the experience for me. So seeing that there's, and you could see just from the UI on the screen, there's been some updates to how they're going to let this combat play out, and that's primarily what I'm most excited for. I'm also excited for the characters. I fell in love with all 8 travelers in Octopath 2. Okay, it's hard to pick a favorite. If I had to, probably Throne or Temenos, but why don't we just put the 2 of them together, okay? The 2 of them.
Which is what they did.
Which is what they did, They saw what we saw. They saw what we saw, or we see what they see, anyway. But this whole that, like, you can go pick your favorite NPCs and convince them to move to your town, and like...
It's kind of like, it's adapting, like, you're not just, like, because you have certain characters where, like, you can recruit other NPCs to fight with you, as, like, backup. The dancer can do it, and the cleric can do it. And so it's, like, the fact that you can just, like, have them, like, live in your town. And I'm wondering, like, if that even, like, what I kind of would be interested to see happen in Octopath Zero? Like, what if there's, like, raids? Like, what if you have, like you're building your town or your settlement, but then, like, you look on your map and it's like, oh, like there's some monsters moving in, and then you have to have like those characters, like, in your town that you recruited there, fighting to protect the town, to make sure that, like, everything doesn't go to crap. I don't know. It was just something that I just thought of. I think would be really That would be really interesting.
Take a look at the screen right now. I paused it at part of the trailer where there's like watch member Fen. So, like, you might have, like, watch members in your town looking for raids. Maybe there's an empire near the border. Maybe you're near a border of an empire or something. So I think that might be part of it, and you need to recruit the kinds of people that can defend your town and stuff like that. I would love that. I mean, here's what I love most about it. I do want to eventually move over to some of the other stuff, but let's keep gushing about Octopath for a bit. What I love most about this is, as someone who, like, I'm obsessed with stories. I love all stories. There's tons of mediums you can experience a story. There's novels, comics, graphic novels, TV shows, movies, you name it, video games, right? I think what video games have going for themselves as a storytelling medium is you give the person experiencing the narrative the agency to explore or experience the world as they see fit. So, like, for example, if FF7 was a trilogy of novels, Andy Brew, there's not going to be a whole lot of time for Queen's Blood tournaments, and there's not going to be a lot of time for Avalanche side quests or to be at the Golden Saucer and do all these things, right? In a lot of storytelling mediums, like a novel or like a movie, which has to, like, fit everything in 2 hours, you don't have a lot of time to explore. You're kind of just being spoon-fed the world that you're experiencing. I love what they're doing with Octopath here, is because there's going to be so much agency to explore this world as we see fit, create the town we want to create in this world. And look, I'm not a big self-insert guy. It's why in FF14, my characters, 2 of them don't look anything like me. They're not named after me. Anyway, I live my own life as me every day. I do like being someone else in these experiences. That said, I think what they're offering here is just like everything you would want from a video game in terms of experiencing a narrative, in the sense that it gives you agency over the narrative. They've mentioned there's 2 narratives in the game. You have the town restoration narrative, which is the one where you're pretty much going to have full agency. And then there's the actual plot that they want you to basically go on the adventure with your travelers, which will be much more on the rails as opposed to in flux or fluid, allowing you to sort of flesh it out yourself. But that's really what I love about it is, and it's something Square Enix has always done well, is you create a world that's interesting enough to explore, and then just kind of like cut the leash. Like, let us go. Like, yeah, if I think the butcher from that town in the Northwest is cool, yeah, let me recruit him. I want him to be my butcher. I want to come home after a nice travel, and like
he might have like a busted skill on him that like it's like you can. Now I don't know how like with your. I'm very curious because I haven't after like the trailer came out. I haven't done that much research into it. I was just like on cloud nine that we have Octopath coming in December, but I'm wondering if you even get to customize, which you probably will. If like you get to pick like your job and like your skills, or if like in the job you pick is like those are the skill like the passive field skills they start with because every class has a field skill, and if I don't know if they're going to do like a day night cycle in this game like they did in Octopath 2, they should they should. Um, but like it would be really cool to like even just customize like just that. Like how much free reign customization do we have with that? And I like what you said about because like whenever you're watching a movie or a TV show, you're experiencing the story that they want you to experience and invested in. And they in a video game, and this is really with a lot of video games that are like this, you there's a story that they want to tell you, but they give you like all these other characters in the world that you don't have to interact with, but you can, and all these other things that you can do. So it's like you do have that free reign, that free agency to like experience, to a degree. In terms of the main plot, it's what they give you, but there are some things in the world that might make that experience just richer because you went out of your way to go hang out with Tim, who's the bartender at a local tavern, and then he tells you about like you know oh like my child is missing, and then you go find his child, and then it's like, oh cool, like now we're cool, let me tell you about how the world was like whenever I was growing up before, kids just ran loose all the time. I don't know. I'm just saying random stuff right now, but you get what I'm saying. Like there's a lot of in video games, there are things that the developers put in there for you to make the story an even richer experience if you choose to engage with it that way.
Well, again, perfectly said, because it gives you the opportunity to literally explore the world they created. Like in a book, you can't pause the main plot and be like, what's that mountain over there that the author described? I kind of want to go see a little bit about that, or you can't pause the movie and be like, so what does that side character do when the plot isn't forcing them to play a role? Like, there's again this ability to actually like imagine you could go into the book and like explore the room the author described. This is a very unique thing video games offer with narrative, and I think what Octopath Zero is doing here is a really cool take on giving the player some sort of agency, because I definitely understand a lot of narrative in gaming that has taken agency away from the players. You don't see as many alternate endings as you used to. You don't see as many multiple endings as you used to. You don't, again, a lot of the agency from gamers has been taken out because these narratives, I genuinely think it comes from a place where there's more love put into these narratives. So the writers want to control the outcomes more than the outcomes used to be controlled, for lack of a better term. But yeah, it's I'm glad they're leaning in this direction, because now you're not just playing Octopath, you get to build Octopath in a sense. You get to have your own pocket of the world that you could build. And you know what? This always comes up when we talk HD-2D, but this is just everything Pokemon should be doing. Honestly, this is everything they should be doing. You could make your own little town and have your own wild Pokemon in there and invite trainers. Octopath is doing it right.
Great idea.
Yeah, but this is what I mean. I feel like
surprised that like they haven't done it. Like to my knowledge, I'm not a big Pokemon guy, so like I don't know. But like to my knowledge, they haven't really done like a whole lot like that. Like maybe I know like so I did play like Legends Arceus or Arceus. I don't know, whatever. tomato tomato. But like you can like have your Pokemon like running around with you like in like the town and things like that, or you can like bring them out. But it's like it would be cool to like actually like have like a space where like you can like create like you create a space for them, and then you have them like you place them in places and have them do different things. I don't know.
No, but you're right. It's just that
Yeah.
innovation, and that's what, again, part of what's making me love Octopath so much. I've only just started the first one, so I can't really speak on the leap from 1 to 2. But many people like yourself has said the leap from Octopath 1 to 2 is very noticeable. And just as someone who played Octopath 2, I'm looking at Octopath Zero, and I see nothing but innovation. Like nothing but innovation. And when the budget doesn't have to feed an outsourced CGI firm, it can be reinvested into, hey, what if we made a world building mechanic? What if we let the players build their own town? Not imagine we ended the game with a 10-minute CGI cutscene. Like this is not what people want.
Don't get me wrong. I would love to see CGI renders of these Octopath characters. My goodness, it's like it is.
I'll take an art book.
My pipe dream. It's my hopium pipe dream of like something that they would throw Kingdom Hearts for. It's just like,
can you imagine?
3D, just give me like Agnia and Particio hanging out at a bar in Quadratum, and Particio is just like buying someone a drink, and Agnia is dancing on the stage and singing her song, and that's all I need. I just want to see them in 3D. Yeah, that would be great. They don't need to do that.
Just to touch on it. Just to touch on it. They're not going to do it, but if Quadratum was like a Square Enix fever dream, where like you walk into a shop, you could just see any IP anywhere. Give the people what they want. They won't do it, but give the people what they want. Look, let's because we're already coming up on 40 minutes here. We got a few announcements to go over. Let's talk about the adventures of Elliot. This was a surprise to me. This was when I first saw it, I thought it was going to be like an Octopath spinoff. I thought this was going to be like Strangers of Paradise Octopath Edition or something. But to see that it was
like Octopath, and I'm like, no, it's too early for Octopath. And then they announced Octopath literally 2 minutes later, and I'm like, crazy. Yeah.
But I literally thought this was like part of Octopath when I first saw it. And you know me, this is music to my ears. I was pleased to hear this is a brand new IP in a brand new world in a brand new setting. And I'm like, this is what Square needs to be doing. Like at the title of the video is exactly what Square needs. We talked about how this makes sense in a budgeting sense, a business sense, a profit sense, an art style sense. But in terms of just creating something new, which is what people want. Go look at Black Myth Wukong. Go look at Stellar Blade. Go look at Expedition 33. People want new. They want new. New IPs are competing with IPs that have been around for 30 years. This is what people want. And when I saw that there's this brand new HD-2D IP, not here's a Chrono Trigger HD-2D, and here's FF6 HD-2D, and here's this HD-2D, and here. No, here's a brand new IP that's never existed before and was created from the ground up to be this HD-2D pixelated art style. And as someone who misses a lot of traditional Zelda, seeing like shades of top-down Zelda in this makes me scream internally with joy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it looks like this game is gonna have kind of everything, in like it's got like that action RPG combat in 2D in HD 2D fashion, which is like so fun. It's got like that, it's got like the puzzle mechanic with like even just from the trailer that I watched with like your little fairy companion, like you use your little fairy
couch co-op, Andy.
It's so good. It looks like it's gonna have everything, but it's just in HD 2D fashion, which makes me really excited because, again, this is like Square Enix. They need to do something new, and this is something new that they're doing, and they're getting creative with like, okay, how can we take like, things that we've implemented into our larger IPs, right? Like into our action RPGs, into into other games we've made. How can we put that in like an HD 2D game, right? And they've done it with this game. from what it looks like. It looks really good. I wish, I don't even have a Switch 2 right now because I was going to wait till next year to get one, but I wish I had a Switch 2 so that I could boot up that demo. I wish I did. It looks like a blast. I think the demo's only on the Switch 2.
I think so too. I think that was like a Nintendo exclusive thing because they know they know. It was so funny, dude. Everything that was announced during that Switch presentation that I was interested in, I was like, yeah, I'll get it for PS5. like literally everything. I was like, I'll get Octopath on PS5. I'll get this on PS5. I'll get literally every. I just couldn't help but laugh. I'm like, Nintendo's announcing games for other platforms at this point.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
At least they're third-party ones. But like you said, this is a game that seems to have everything. I actually think the graphics and art style are better than Octopath. I think this is a step up. Like when I look at the the sprites, like the sprite of Elliot when he's talking and things like that, like the graphics, like all of it looks so good. Like here, I'm actually going to pause right here. I think the sprites are traditionally in hand drawn and then scanned in. Like that does not look like, iPad digital art. Again, it could be a filter, it could be a style they're achieving, but it does look to me like this is hand drawn and then scanned in. Who else did that recently? There was a game I was playing that did that recently where all the sprites were hand drawn and scanned. I can't remember off the top of my head, but singing the praises of HD-2D, as good as Octopath Zero looks, to me, I think Elliot's graphics and its settings are like such a noticeable step up. Like you could tell Octopath Zero was derived from its mobile game it was inspired by. This is truly like ground up, and the settings look immaculate. Like they're glistening.
Even just the way that like Elliot moves and like the animations, like even like in Octopath 2, like that was the animations for like the battles were a huge step up from the first game. Like, they actually had like specific animations for their attacks instead of just like, I have my axe and I'm just so like it's but just looking at even like the way like in the trailer whatever Ellie he just like grabs his hat and he just like goes like this. It's just like it looks smooth. It's like, wow, this didn't have to be an HD-2D game. Like they could have made it like its own action RPG with like not this style of graphics and like not in this way, but they made it an HD-2D game, and I think honestly it's kind of a flex, dude. Of like, here's what we can do with HD-2D. Here's what we can do, and here's what we're gonna do, and even just like, I mean, dude, it looks smooth, man. Like, granted, it's on the Switch too, so I would hope it's fairly smooth, but like it looks smooth, dude. Like it looks clean,
well optimized. Doesn't look bloated in the slightest, and again, looks like a clear improvement off of the HD-2D art style that they've been playing with as of late. Because I put out a few tweets about it when everything was announced, and a lot of people were like, hey, they've been doing HD-2D the whole time, what are you talking about? And I'm like, I get that. My point is, it's such a bigger slice of the pie than it used to be. And now, they were doing HD-2D, but a lot of it was remaster Live Alive, remaster this, remaster that. And the last few years, since Octopath 1, with things like Triangle Strategy and now everything we're seeing here, there's like, no, this is going to be a significant wing of our company, and we're going to create brand new IPs for this art style and play style. This is not just going to be our method of remastering our old glory. No, we're going to capture new glory that's inspired by the old glory. And again, look, we would all love a Chrono Trigger HD-2D. Okay, we'd all love an FF6 HD-2D. Don't get me wrong, but in my opinion, those games they've had their time in the sun. I'll take Elliot any day. I love FF6, one of my favorite games ever. I will take Elliot any day over FF6 HD-2D. That's just me. And I think Square is very smart. And this is where I'm really happy about this, is because it would have been so easy for them to just be like, here's FF1 HD-2D, here's FF2 HD-2D, here's FF3 HD-2D, and just milk everything into HD-2D that they did right 20, 30 years ago. Here's Chrono Trigger HD-2D. And to an extent, they're kind of doing that with Dragon Quest. But it's not like they're like, oh, here's Chain of Memories HD-2D. It's like they could have gone down that road, but instead, between Octopath, Triangle Strategy, Tales of Elliot, it's like, no, HD-2D is not a means of capturing old glory. It's we're going to create a new glory, and
Yeah, and we're gonna take the things that are working with like this current generation of gaming, gameplay wise, and even just from a storytelling standpoint, and we're gonna make this feel like this is gonna be a cult classic, after it releases. Like
yeah,
that's I feel like what they're going for. It's like we want to make the next like classic because, like you said, and I love that you said this at the beginning of the podcast, like Super Mario World aged better than Super Mario 64, right? It does. You play
hmm
Super Mario 64, man, it's blocky, whatever. But like Super Mario World, it's 2D pixelated. Like Super Mario
clean.
Brothers 3 is still one of the greatest Mario Brothers games of all time. I'm biased, but I'm biased for a reason because it is. And it still ages well to this day. Like it's you can and with these games, I feel like you could never like it's like, oh man, I could pick this game up like 15 years from now and be like, man, like this game it's still
It'll
amazing.
still feel
I can't
good.
say the same about like a lot, but I cannot say the same about like a lot of like 3D action adventure games or 3D action RPGs. For example, I played a little game growing up called Tack and the Power of Juju.
Oh my
And
god,
yes, dude.
dude, stop
And
it. You unlocked a memory that was
okay,
buried.
okay. So, okay,
There
well,
was a
do you
TV
remember?
show.
Yes, because I forgot it was a TV show, by the way. But I played those games growing up. I played that one in Stafford Dreams growing up, and I remember like really loving them growing up. And it was funny because I was actually visiting you, and we went into that retro game store, and I saw. I don't know if you remember this. I don't remember how long ago this was, forever ago. But I saw a tank. I'm like, dude, they're only like a few bucks. I'm gonna buy them because I still got my GameCube. So like, I bought them, and I was like so excited to go home and play it. I booted up Tac One, and I'm like, dude, this game sucks. Like, it's not age well. Like, it just was not fun to play. And I'm like, what are we like? What? Why did I enjoy this? Like, but like at the time it was, but like now it's like I don't know. Like trying to go back and play a game like that, it was rough, dude. I played maybe 30 minutes of it, and I'm like, I can't. Like, it's gonna be an ancient relic on my shelf, which is fine, and it'll stay that way because that was a part of me one time. But what I'm trying to say is like those games, like 3D, you know, even 3D like open world action adventure, whatever you want to call it, sandbox games, they age more poorly than these HD 2D games and these pixel remasters and like things like that. So, or like your 2D platformers, in my opinion. So, I love that you said that because I was thinking about that the whole time. I'm like, oh my gosh, like he's right, because there's so many games that I tried to play. And I'm just like I can't get into them, but like I feel like, dude, I can always go back to Super Mario Deluxe, dude. That game is
Yep.
still a banger of a game, right? On the Game Boy Color, I could still go back and play it. So
That's how
yeah,
I echo the same
yeah,
sentiment about all my old Sonic the Hedgehog games. I really liked, what was it, Sonic Frontiers, that new one, but like Sonic the Hedgehog 3 like clears it like by a mile. Like that's just how I feel. My opinion. Crucify me if you will. Let's give a shout out to Josh Z with a super chat, a $10 super chat. My man says Chrono Trigger fans feel a little trolled by Adventures of Elliot from what I have seen, which I found funny. I buy almost all of my non-Final Fantasy RPGs on Switch, so I don't feel pressured by all the achievement hunting. I get that. I
that's
catch the
valid.
achievement
I
bug, and I
yes,
catch myself doing
yes,
things that I don't enjoy for the sake of a trophy that I don't care that much about. But I
yeah.
also do really enjoy, like, I've really enjoyed going through FF14 the last few weeks and just getting all the trophies I've missed. Anyway, I'm getting off topic. Josh, thank you so much for that super chat. And I would agree with you. I have seen a lot of pissy Chrono Trigger fans who thought that Octopath success and Triangle Strategy success and the Pixel remaster success, that all of this would lead to some like Chrono Trigger resurgence. And it just hasn't yet. I mean, we got Chrono Cross, maybe count your blessings there. But I do believe, and I guess if we're going to talk about Square's HD-2D future, Chrono Trigger is a great example. I do believe there's a plan for Chrono Trigger. The
Yeah,
problem
there
is
has to be.
that
There has
plan
to
might...
be.
What's up?
No, I was saying there has to be,
There has to
because
be.
like, and I've never played Chrono Trigger, but everybody that I know, and I'm thinking off the top of my head, D Empire is one of the guys. He's like everybody that I know who's played is like, dude, top five of all time.
All right, I'm
Maybe
gonna
the
be
best
that
game I've
guy.
ever played.
I'm gonna be that guy because
Yeah,
I have played Chrono Trigger, and I've gotten
yeah,
some of the endings. I've not gotten all of the endings. I'm really bad about that. I'm the
yeah.
same way with Nier. Although with Nier, I've got a much larger share
Uh,
of the pie of the endings. But I didn't get all the Chrono Trigger endings. Um, I think the game's a little overrated, but I also
oh
think
wow,
it's a
wow,
generational
wow.
masterpiece. I also think it's a
Yes,
generational
yeah.
masterpiece, and I'm surprised it wasn't more influential on gaming. And now I know that game Sea of
Uh,
Stars came out, which took a lot of its inspiration from Chrono Trigger, and
yeah,
again, look at what a success that was. Um,
yeah.
so I'm with the Chrono Trigger fans. Generational masterpiece. Would love to see it resurge. I just think that unfortunately, what may have happened with Toriyama last year might have upheld any plans they had, because he was a big part of that game. But
Yeah.
it's not stopping them with Dragon Quest. But then again, that was always well underway, long before anything happened to him. But I guess getting back to that topic, of getting back to Chrono Trigger, I think there's a plan for it. It's one of their flagship games. It's one of those things where it's like I don't think it's as popular as everybody says. I just
Well,
don't.
what if like what if like let's say that Elliot and Octopath Zero they sell well, and what if like in the next year or two, Square's like, here's a new Chrono game. It's not Chrono Trigger, Chrono Cross. It's a new Chrono game.
I want that. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah,
I want that.
that's
I
yeah,
played
and
Chrono
again,
Trigger like
never.
2 or 3 times already.
Yeah, and I never played them, but it's like if I was in that fan base, I would kind of be like, I want to do like it would be sweet to see like a new game, dude. So
Yeah, that's
in the
I'm in the same
HD2D
boat.
style, adapting the HD2D, the things that make HD2D like really, really pop, but within, and it seems like, again, because I know Dragon Quest, they're doing like Dragon Quest 1, 2, and 3 HD2D, right? And so it's like those games I've never played a Dragon Quest game either, but dude, because of like because of Dragon Quest 3, that was like the one that I saw first. I think that's the one that they announced first. I'm like, dude, I might have to get into Dragon Quest now because
It
like
looks good.
it looks like a lot of fun. I don't have a lot of
Well, it's
experience with,
Andy. What
I
you'll
don't know
like
how
about it is
the
Dragon
games
Quest.
were, but
This is what the Dragon Quest fans say, okay? This is their elitism over
um,
us Final Fantasy fans, and I got to give them their points.
sure,
I'm going to give them their points. They're right that Dragon
okay,
Quest is the truest RPG that Square Enix has, in the sense that, and I could be wrong about this, but in all the mainline Dragon Quest games, it's my understanding that the player has pretty much full autonomy over what class every character is. Like, it's a role-playing game in the truest way, in the sense that you're choosing everybody's roles. You're truly
yeah,
building the team that you're building. Now, again, Final Fantasy
yeah.
has mechanics like that, like the materia system, but no matter what materia you give Tifa,
You
she's
have
still a monk,
yeah,
you know?
yes, like you can yeah, like every Final Fantasy, they have like you have characters that it's like, okay, like you're very clearly a white mage. I'm not gonna give you, like double attack material,
Firaga. Yeah.
like so or something like that. But so that's really awesome that Dragon Quest like does that, because it's like, oh, and to be fair, like I'm somebody like I do like a more just like, I don't want to say a hallway experience, but in the sense of like, oh, like you're giving
Controlled.
me a character that I know is like, yeah, more like folk. Like you're giving me a character that I know is like a black mage, for example. Okay,
Like
so like I
Vivi.
don't have to think as much about like what I want to do. I just know that I should put all my offensive magic on that character, right? So I like that, but I think for people who it's like, you know what? You can make these characters whatever you want. You could play with 4 monks in your party, and just see how it goes. That's awesome. And you can kind of, we're talking about Octopath a lot, but like Octopath 1 and Octopath 2, you can do that
Secondary class.
because the secondary classes, and they do it but you have more free reign in Octopath 2 because in Octopath 1, you can only get like one extra like secondary class and you can cycle it, but like in Octopath 2, you can have like all your entire party be hunters.
Yeah.
The entire party can be Ochets. And it's madness, you know, and it's so fun that you can do that.
Yeah. You know, we've talked a lot today about like giving the player agency, right? Give the player agency over the experience. And you know what? If maybe in Dragon Quest, you don't give them a lot of agency over the narrative, but you can give them a lot of agency over the gameplay and how these characters manifest themselves. Which, again, give the Dragon Quest fans their due. They are right. It is more of an RPG than Final Fantasy is. However,
Sure.
I think the reason I'm a Final Fantasy fan more than a Dragon Quest fan is because, like you, Andy, I do prefer that more narrowed experience. You know, give me the autonomy. Like, again, Sphere Grid, my goat. Sphere Grid, my goat. I got a file where Yuna's my black mage and Lulu's my white mage. I'm having a great time with it. It's you know, Sphere Grid is my goat. Sphere Grid is my goat. It'll always be my goat. I don't care what anybody says. I think I think it's the best RPG system Final Fantasy ever figured out. And I guess that's because it gives the player more agency, and a lot of people don't like that. They're like, just let me level up and then let the computer choose what stats go up with every level up. I'm like, no, let me choose.
Sure.
Let me choose.
Yeah.
Let me choose.
Yeah, well, that's also why I love, like, I mean, you know, it's also why I love, like, Souls games. It's like, you choose what you want to pump your souls into. You know, like, you choose, like, kind of, like, what you want to make out of it and things like that. Now, granted, there's things that scale better with certain stats. And even in, like, an Octopath, there are moves that characters have that scale better with specific stats. So like Hikari has one on his like Warmonger class or whatever the heck it's called in Octopath 2, I can't remember. Where like one of his moves scales off of his defense. So like the higher his defense is, then you're gonna do crazy damage. And it's one of the best moves he has, honestly. But I do enjoy like I don't know. I enjoy like the character building aspect of it, which is why I feel like I'm probably going to enjoy Dragon Quest whenever I play it, or at least one of the HD-2D versions.
Andy, I sent you a meme on this. There's a Dragon Quest game where supposedly, like, I'm gonna really spark note the plot here. Apparently, like the main character, you go out, you get married, big time skip, you have some children. You dive into hell with your wife and kids, and you literally kill Satan. So
that's awesome.
I think that's the Dragon Quest game for you.
Yeah, let me know which one that is, and I'll play it.
I'll try to hunt it down. It might be one of the more niche ones. I don't know if it's 1, 2, or 3. But getting back to these remasters that they're doing,
that's what I want my life to look like. After I'm married, man. If my wife's on board, my future wife.
Dude, like, you got a wife. If you got a wife that can slay the devil, you picked a good one, man.
Yeah.
I mean.
Let's curb stomp the devil and let's bring our kids along the ride. That's
she's curb stomping the devil after popping out 2 kids. Like, come on, like any woman can slay the devil pre-children, but homegirl's going out after. There we go, baby. I love it.
We are getting so off.
We are, yeah. We're gonna rein it. We're gonna rein it back in. I'm gonna pull tactics up. So.
That's we gotta talk about tactics.
Yeah, we talked a little bit about it during the pre-roll. I've played Tactics Advanced. I've never played the tactics that this is based off of from the PS1. I have a copy. I got it, like you said, making a little collector trophy on my shelf. But this will be my first time basically playing this Final Fantasy Tactics, and I'm excited about it because, if I could, I'm just going to nerd out and gush out for a little bit. There was a time at Square Enix, circa like 2004, 2005, they had such a beautiful vision for Final Fantasy that unfortunately did not come to fruition, but I wish it did. It's still similarly structured now where you have 2 main teams, Creative Studio 1, Nomura, Kitase, Nojima. That's where the FF7 happens, the FF10, the Kingdom Hearts. And then you have Creative Studio 3. That's Yoshi P and his team. That's FF12, 14, 16, etc. There was a time in the early 2000s where Creative Studio 1 was like, all right, all of our games are going to fly under Fabula Nova Crystallis. We have this lore that's going to make all of these Final Fantasies that we make canon. And then Creative Studio 3 is like, well, we have this world called Ivalice. And everything we do is going to be contained within Ivalice. Now, personally, I think Creative Studio 3 did a better job of actually fleshing that out. Because FF12 is Ivalice, all the tactics are Ivalice, 14 crosses over with Ivalice. 16 is Valisthea, but I have seen theories that Valisthea and Ivalice are the same. I don't buy it.
Interesting, because I'm not I'm familiar with Fabula Nova Crystallis because I've not played FF13, but I played like Type 0, and like there's some Fabula Nova Crystallis influence in 15 and things like that. Actually I'm pretty sure I don't know, I can't remember if 15 is like technically.
It's not 15 technically isn't, but it is
like the Magitech and like all like they have the Fabula Nova Crystallis things in it, but it's not a part of that. But I'm not familiar with like Ivalice at all, like just not at all. So this is like Creative Studio 3's like Fabula Nova Crystallis essentially is what you're saying. Okay.
Exactly. That's exactly it. And what's cool is this game is like the first chronological game in Ivalice, which is why I think it's being called Ivalice Chronicles, because FF12 is seen as like a modern version of Ivalice compared to Tactics, which is supposed to be in the past. That's my understanding of it. I was always more of a Fabula Nova Crystallis guy. But I'm excited about this because I think it's an era of Final Fantasy I'd hate to see get swept under the rug, because FF12 is like it's the ugly sister of the double-digit FFs. Tactics was niche, right? This is before Creative Studio 3 really had a big break with FF12, because FF12 did sell well. It just wasn't really, in my opinion, I don't think it was remembered well. I think people who play it really like it, and it's a good game. I've played it, but I just don't think it built the legacy that even a Final Fantasy 13 has. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
There was just something. I like FF12. I just think there was something lacking in it. But I'm excited for this, and this is an example of something I wouldn't mind them doing. We talked about how we prefer that they use this HD-2D art style to create new IPs, but now that they've gone ahead and done that, I'm very happy to see that they are also taking something like Tactics from PS1, bringing it to the modern era, and letting people experience Ivalice, and then maybe people go on to play FF12 or play the next Tactics, or do the FF14 crossover, or start to tickle your tism and see if you can convince people Valisthea is actually Ivalice. I don't know. I wish they did that with 16, but also I do also appreciate that 16 can really just stand on its own 2 feet.
Which thing,
yeah. I think now we're so obsessed with compilations and trilogies and sequels and crossovers, and sometimes it's nice to just like experience something that is just itself, will only be itself, and it begins and ends with itself. That's why I liked really off topic, but I saw the latest Robert Pattinson Batman movie, and I loved it. I loved it so much, and I'm done with superhero movies that have like 5 superheroes. I can't do it anymore. You have 2 hours to tell me a story. That's enough time for one person. That's enough time for again, I don't know. It felt like such a, we're really off topic here, but I don't care. It felt like such a breath of fresh air. I don't know. Have you seen it?
I have. I kind of had the opposite opinion. I did not like it as much.
You didn't like it? I prefer Nolan's trilogy, but I still liked that movie.
I would have to watch it again. My issues with that movie, one, it's very dark. Like you can't see anything that's going on. But I don't know. I just didn't. I don't really. Batman never felt like the smartest person in the room, and he should have been. And I was like, I don't know. Like he should have been, but he never felt like it. There were just some things that and it felt kind of slow to me. Like I have to watch it again. I've only seen it once in theaters. I went with people who were like massive Batman fans, and they were like, "Oh, this was like the best Batman movie ever. It was very comic book accurate." And then I made a side comment. I was like, "Well, the comics must suck," like I was like half joking, but like half not, because like I didn't really enjoy it that much. But I'd have to watch it again.
That's fair.
So
I mean, that's fair. I understand
yeah,
why again, I still think Dark Knight, Batman Begins are better movies. But Rises and this Batman movie are, to me, about the same. Maybe I prefer Rise. It depends on the day. Depends on the day for the two for me.
yeah.
What I liked, and I know why comic accurate fans would really like it, is that what the Nolan trilogy was missing is in this movie, he felt like a detective. Like, you're right. He never really felt like the smartest guy in the room. Like, Gordon was always kind of helping him and leading him along. Selina, there was always, the Riddler was outsmarting him constantly in that film. Not all the time, but a good share of it. I also didn't like what they did with the Riddler. For all the people who say, like, comic accurate, that was not a comic accurate Riddler, like, in the frickin' slightest. Like, not in the slightest. Okay, I'll leave it at that. But I did like that he was doing actual detective work. I want... It's detective comics. Like, that's what these stories. Everyone, even Superman's a detective. These stories are structured in that there's a detective operation.
Right.
You have to figure something out, and I mean the Riddler's perfect for that. But anyway, let's get back to the title topic.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think we have. Oh no! I think no. We covered all the announcements. We did good.
Well, dude, how do you feel about an HD-2D Batman game? Now that we're on Batman,
an HD-2D Batman game? Is that what you just asked me?
Dude, I mean, we're talking about HD-2D. We're talking about Batman. What about HD-2D
no,
Batman?
Let me. All right. You got me going. 1 second. You got me going. 1 second. I need to Google something real quick.
Okay, yeah, but dude, like, imagine, like, okay, the combat of like an Arkham Knight, but HD-2D style. Like,
so get this.
Or does that already exist and I don't even know?
We'll make it exist because in 10 years, Batman goes into the public domain, which means in 10 years, anybody can make that Batman HD-2D game.
That's crazy. I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah.
He's been around for a long time.
He's been around a very long time. And again, he's going into public domain, which means pretty much anyone can use him. But my understanding is just because he's going in public domain doesn't mean the rest of Gotham is. Like, it's I think the law is like 100 years from inception. So like, Selina Kyle won't be public domain for another like 15 years after that.
That's fine. You don't have to. It can just be an isekai. You isekai Batman into HD-2D. And then you create whatever game you want after that. Like, it's just, you know what I'm saying? It doesn't have to be. I wanted to ask you, actually, this is more on the Final Fantasy end, because we were kind of talking about it earlier. Because Square Enix is going in this direction of, it seems like they're going to be cranking out more HD-2D titles, which I'm glad. And I'm just hoping that, and I think they're going to make a profit off of it. Like, I can't even say, like,
absolutely.
I hope that they will sell well, because I know they will. I don't care what the loud minority says on Twitter. They're going to make a profit off of this. It's going to happen because of the cost it takes to make.
If they sell 1 million copies, huge success, and they will. They 100% will.
Absolutely. I think Elliot will probably sell 1 million, and it's before the within the year. That's my prediction. Yeah. But I wanted to ask. So, like, do you think Final Fantasy going back to a more turn-based combat system would be better or worse?
Oh man! All right. So I'm glad you're opening a can of worms.
Yes. Well, because I was thinking about this, and like we've kind of talked a little bit about it, and like I've seen people talk about it, and I really don't know. Like, I like where it's at right now. I love like the remake and rebirth combat system. I think it's one of the best combat systems out there because it perfectly meshes like hack and slash and turn based like RPG. But I'm curious to hear what you think. Like, do you think that it would have Final Fantasy would have the potential to sell more if they went back, or do you think that they should keep trying new things or keep evolving, like the rebirth combat, or like stick with the FF16, like you know baseline Devil May Cry esque battle system. I'm curious.
All right,
I'm
no, it's a
curious.
good question. There were a couple questions in there. I'll get to them all. My first thing I would say to you is I actually think turn-based sells better than action, and here's why. It's because action games, the competition is it's unfathomable the amount of action games, particularly action RPGs, that are just out there that you have to compete with at any given moment. Let me ask you, who did Expedition 33 compete with this year?
Not nobody that I know of.
Right?
Actually.
Like what other huge turn-based action, like turn-based game came out? The
Which is so funny because when that game, like right before that game came out, like a week before the Oblivion remaster came out, and people were like, "Oh, like the Oblivion remaster is coming out, no one's gonna buy Expedition 33." And I'm like, they have literally nothing in common with each other at all, outside that they're fantasy games.
There's no overlap.
Nothing in common.
There's no overlap.
Nothing in common.
But that's overall my point. I think turn-based will sell.
Yeah,
I think turn-based will sell better. Again, Octopath 1 sold just as much as FF16. Now, that's not a statement on why Octopath good, Final Fantasy bad. It's just that, the gaming marketplace has changed a lot in the last 10, 15 years.
Traded with action RPGs and
there's just so many of them. Whereas with turn-based, turn-based games haven't gone anywhere. Again, Persona, Shin Megami Tensei, Octopath Traveler, Dragon Quest. Turn-based hasn't gone anywhere, but the competition is so much smaller. So for people who enjoy playing turn-based games, right? Like I love turn-based combat. So when Expedition 33 came out, there was just like no question. I'm like, I want to play a turn-based game. There's a turn-based game. There's no other turn-based games coming out this year. I mean, there are, but like not around it. So I was like, okay, as someone who loves turn-based games, I'm going to go grab that turn-based game. Now, again, if I love action games, my Lord, the amount of action games that are out there and the amount of action games that have 100+ hours of content in them and are constantly getting support and are constantly getting update. There's no end to it. So to answer that question, I actually think turn-based would sell more than action. However, I think the mainline Final Fantasy games should stick with Rebirth system. 100%. You've created something good here. Make it Final Fantasy Rebirth in a meta sense. You have something really creative and unique here. You made a really good action combat system where with the press of the D-pad, the game could feel completely fresh. That's what they should do for their main lines. However, they have to return to turn-based. They have to. The FF9 remake, gotta make it turn-based. Like, it has to be. Because, dude, I'm sorry. Like, FF14, FF16, FF7 Remake and Rebirth, Strangers of Paradise, action. They're competing with themselves. Like, they're literally competing with themselves. Where it's like, why not make FF17 action and then, like, FF9 Remake turn-based? Or, like, you know what I mean? Like, as opposed to, here's FF16 in August, great action game. Here's Rebirth in February, great action game. You're competing with yourself.
Yes.
It doesn't work. So I think the main line, basically, look, whether it's main lines or remakes, remasters, one has to be action, one has to be turn-based. I don't care which one they do. I enjoy both approaches, but you have to, if you have two Final Fantasy approaches going on, they can't both be action.
They can't be the same. Yeah, because you're right. They're going to be competing with each other. Yeah. And I mean, like you said, like, especially nowadays, you have more action games coming out than any other game. More space games now.
Yep.
Like, I feel bad for dude, every award show I watch now, or every Summer Games Fest or Gamescom, it's like space. And it's like I feel bad for these devs because it's like they're so it's crazy. So I'm with you on that. I think FF9 remake has to be turn-based. FF17, I don't really care what direction they go. I'm a Square Enix shill at the end of the day, so I will play it. But I like, yeah, I I love what they got going with the rebirth, with the remake slash rebirth combat
It's
system.
so good.
I think that they should evolve that outside of the remake trilogy. The
It has
FF7
to.
remake
It has to.
trilogy.
I think unfortunately the FF16 combat has to be put to bed. They did a terrific job. I love 16's combat. And if you look at some of these people online, like the innovation it allows for, I don't think it doesn't get talked about enough because a very high skill level player is needed to tap into a lot of the things FF16 can offer. But I think it's okay. Let 16 be its own thing. Doesn't have to be Ivalice. Let it be Valisthea. Doesn't need to be a combat system we keep. It could be its own unique moment. I think that would help 16's legacy more than anything. Is just let it stay locked into itself, whether it's combat, its world. Let it just be standalone in a world of trilogies and Crystallis and Ivalice Chronicles. Let 16 stand alone on its own 2 feet. But dude, it's like, yeah, I'm with you. I don't care what they do. I just want them to separate it a little bit. You know, like you're Square Enix. You're the king of turn-based, man. You know, like you're the king of turn. I know some people go to McDonald's for the chicken nuggets, but you still got to turn out the Big Mac. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. I'm with you.
But yeah, let's see. I know you had to be out at a certain time. How are you doing on time?
I'm good.
You're good.
I'm good.
You're good. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, then, yeah, I guess we can just keep that conversation going. You know, the future of FF, again, we did like a whole like episode on this recently, but like it's really at a crossroads, and I don't know which way they're going to go. I don't think we hear anything until the trilogy is done. I really think everything at Square Enix AAA wise is on hold until the trilogy of FF7 is done. I think that's true for Dragon Quest 12. I think that's true for Kingdom Hearts 4. I think that's true for Final Fantasy 17. The only thing not on hold right now is FF14 because that's its own little thing.
Right.
But I do think that keeping it on topic, I suppose, we're going to see a lot of this HD-2D stuff, and the AAA titles, really, we might get 1 or 2 AAAs a year. I'm not. I don't see.
Which I'm okay with.
Me too.
I'm okay with that because these devs are being stretched thin.
Yeah.
Like, and if Rebirth Part 3 or Remake Part 3 is supposed to be out by 2027, like I'm okay with that being their only AAA hitter that year. Hopefully, maybe Kingdom Hearts. I doubt it's coming. Kingdom Hearts 4 is coming out next year.
Well,
but
that's my question for you, right? That's going to be my question for you.
Yeah.
We know Part 3 is being aimed at 2027. What do you think Square's 2026 play is? It can't just be remake on Switch 2, right? Like, what is there?
No, yeah. I mean, I think it. I mean, it could be Kingdom Hearts 4, but like, I don't. I have. After the things that I know now, right? I'm just like, I'm not expecting it. Maybe FF9 remake gets announced. Maybe in a couple of days it gets announced.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking because again they got Elliot in 2026, which will do well, but they need a AAA, and I really think an FF9 remake would just be par for the course.
Yeah, or I mean maybe Kingdom Hearts 4 development's going well.
It could.
And they're actually like being smart and not showing us anything until the game is literally months within releasing, which is what I think they should do at this point.
I don't know if they'll do months.
No, well, here's what I mean by months.
But like a year.
Yes, I don't think they should release another trailer if the game is more than a year away.
Could not agree more. Could not agree more.
At this point. Yes, like don't release a trailer and tell me now in development, or don't even give me a window. I want to know when the game is coming out the next time you guys show a trailer, and I want it to be no later. If you release it at Gamescom on Tuesday, which is not going to happen,
No,
but I'm
no.
willing to eat my words if it does. It's not going to happen, but I do not want that game coming out later than August 18th of 2026. Like, I want to play it in the summer of
I mean,
next
I'm
year.
with you. I'm with you. I really
Yeah.
do think. I do think there's a chance. I know I can be very
There's always a
skeptical.
chance, you know?
There's always a chance. But they've been so. Here's the thing. A lot of people see their silence as like a negative or like a warning. I'm like, no, I think that silence is a good thing, man. I
Yeah.
think the quiet.
Yeah.
I think they're being quiet about this for a reason, and I think
Yeah.
it's because look, look. I'm a dimwit. Okay, I'm a dimwit, midwit. I'm probably closer to a midwit than a dimwit. But like, if I'm looking at Square Enix, it's like I talk about this because for me, this was a time of my life where in a calendar year, less than a calendar year, I got a 14 expansion, FF16, and FF7
Yeah.
Rebirth. Pardon my French.
It's your
Seriously.
podcast, man.
Pardon my French. I'm gonna use a word some people don't like, but it's the proper word. And I'm not using this to insult this type of person. I'm using this word by its definition. To release essentially three mainline Final Fantasies in one calendar year is retarded. It's a stupid thing to do. So I
Yeah.
when I think of the Kingdom Hearts of it all, I think they learned from that. And if you see the way, because FF16, they told us about it like 3 or 4 years before it came out and everything. But if you look at the way Rebirth's marketing was handled, really it was like there was 1 year out and it started to snowball a little bit. But in the 6 months leading to the game, it was like
Yep.
like they went
Yep.
hard, man, balls to the walls. And getting into what you were saying, I think this is their new approach. It's like we can't have
Yeah.
like 3 or 4
It has to
AAA
be.
titles
It has to be.
in limbo. It's why we haven't heard anything about Dragon Quest 12. It's why because we're not going to hear
Yeah.
about these things. They can't
It's
have
not, I mean, dude,
they can't have people
even
excited about FF7 Part 3, Kingdom Hearts 4, Dragon Quest 12, and FF17 and the new 14 expansion all at once. That can't all be on the way.
that's a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. And they make a lot of stuff. And again, for people like you and I, this is a great thing. But as you were saying, they stretched themselves so thin the last 4 years that it's like they'll never do it like that again. And you're not going to get these 1.5 2 3 year hype cycles. It's not happening anymore. It can't be sustained.
Yeah.
I mean, look, we all talk about Kingdom Hearts 3. That hype cycle was way too long. They had to string us along by showing us just too much shit. And it was some of it was the
and
best
a lot
stuff.
of people, a lot of people were very disappointed after they played it because of how long the hype cycle was and how much they did show us.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's they've done well to keep their heads above the water.
Yeah, I would even argue it was more the hype cycle being too long than the content that they showed. Now, should they have showed like pretty much the entire climax in the final battle trailer? No, they should not have. But when that trailer came out, like there was months and before the game came out. So like, dude, and even before that, like, dude, like the Aqua, like Norded reveal or whatever, like, dude, like that lasted for a long time. And so when people were like, dude, people were really disappointed, and it's because the hype cycle from what we got was too long. Like there needs to be like with what they did with FF7 Rebirth, I think is what they should do. Right? You show us like one trailer, okay, we don't get anything for a while. Then in that final 5 or 6 months leading up to the game, just bang it out, trailer after trailer, interview after interview, like just give. I think 7 to 8 months, 6 to 8 months is like the perfect amount of time for like a game to be like in its hype cycle. I think like any longer than that is a little dangerous, like Kingdom Hearts 3. I mean, literally years. And like, dude, I mean, it was a great time for creators. Like, dude, theories and like
before my time.
Everything. yeah, dude, like it was a great time for Kingdom Hearts creators, but as a consumer, like I'll be honest, I love Kingdom Hearts 3, but there were some things that I was a bit disappointed about with it, and it's because of like my expectations going into it. But I would not have had those expectations, if it wasn't pitched to me in a very specific way for a very specific elongated amount of time.
Yeah, and it's good. Again, you know me. I'm a KH3 supremacist, but every single thing you just said is 100% valid. That even myself, like the shot of Sora going, whoa, like they should have never included that. They should have never, because I watched it so many times before the game, I was desensitized to it by the time the moment found me.
Yeah. Like hearing Sora do that in the game, not knowing it's coming and not knowing what the context is, dude, it would have been way more memorable because you would never expect
him to break,
like him to just break like that.
Yeah. It's one of the best moments in the game, and it still is. It's well executed. It's all of that. But the problem is, we all got to see it we all got to see it out of context. We all got to see it a little too early, and then we see the scene happening in the Keyblade graveyard. And you see who being taken away, and you're like, here it comes. You knew it was coming. So I think overall they know to avoid that. I mean, look at what they're doing with Octopath and Ivalice Chronicles and Tales of Elliot. We're not hearing about these games until they're like 6, 7, 8 months away. Like you're saying, this is their new MO.
They didn't even give us a lot. They didn't even give us a lot with the Octopath trailer either. Like I still don't really know anything about the characters or like what the game outside of like it's an Octopath game and I know what to expect from an Octopath game at the baseline.
Yeah, and that's all you really need to sell a game. Like I understand why Kingdom Hearts does what it does, because you could show off all the Disney properties and that gets a lot of normies in the door. So I get that. I gets a lot of normies in the door. But what can even, you got to think about it like this, right? Like what can even an Octopath Traveler Zero do? Like is showing off more trailers going to really boost sales?
They don't need to. With a game like Octopath, you don't really need to spend the money I don't want to say promoting, but like I don't know, like there's not, because you can only show so much with an HD-2D game, right? Until you're kind of seeing the same thing over and over again. At least with a Final Fantasy, right, or like an FF7 Rebirth, right? You can show like what the gold saucer is going to look like and what, Wu Tai, whenever they eventually do it in part 3, what that's going to look like and things like that. And you can get a little more experimental, but like with HD2D, you are limited to certain things, but that's just a strong choice that you make as a developer whenever you choose to go that route. And so give me like max another Octopath Zero trailer than a launch trailer, I'm good. You
could do a character trailer. That's what you could do.
Yeah.
That's what what? To their credit, that's what they were doing with Octopath 2, is you had these like character trailers that would 60-second trailers.
They were like less than a minute.
Yeah. Just introduce it. Little things like that go a long way. I think this idea of just like we don't have to say, oh God damn it, I almost fell into a trap there. But like let's just say hypothetically, we knew a company that liked to do 5-minute CGI trailers for a mobile game that hasn't been released. How's that gonna sell anything? That's not gonna, as opposed to okay. Let's say Missing Link was gonna come out. Instead of a bunch of
we're going here.
Yeah,
okay.
Instead of a bunch of beta tests and instead of a bunch of trailers and all of this, why not here's a Remus trailer, 60 seconds. Here's a Freya trailer, 60 seconds. Yeah. These little snippets, get to know these characters a little bit, as opposed to, again, showing off. Like, I understand why they did it with FF7 Remake. FF7 Remake, I think, showed off a little bit too much between Barrett being stabbed and like the whispers existed and all of that. I understand to a degree why they did that.
Yeah.
Because they showed in the trailer right away that things were going to be different. So nobody could say, "Oh, I thought it was going to be shot for shot." It's like, I don't know. Watch the trailer. It's if you know OG FF7, you knew right away something was very different from the beginning.
Yeah. I think what I would have done differently if I were in charge of making that trailer, which, by the way, I'm not, and I have no experience in doing this. So this is just me just saying whatever.
We're midwits
if you want. But like, what I would have done was show like a trailer of Final Fantasy VII Remake, and it's show off the combat, show off everything that you know, but just a little tease of like the whispers, like maybe have like one of like the whisper ghosts like fly across the screen or something, and then it piques our interest of like, what is that? Like that's weird. Like I think that would have been better instead of making it the focus of like so many trailers that they did.
Yeah. And again, I can understand why they maybe wanted to be on the nose about it, so they could just be very forward.
They don't want it to be like false advertising either, because I know I already can tell you a lot of people would have been like, well, this is not the Final Fantasy VII that I was promised. Actually, a lot of people are still like that now. Like, this is not my FF7. It's like, it's not technically. I mean, if you want to go down that rabbit hole, it's not your FF7.
But what's so funny about that, Andy, what's so funny about that is that it's like, you do it, people who have that opinion, I'm not going to try and say it's invalid, but it's like, have you considered that like every single core plot point is still intact? Like
that's what I tell people too.
Like single one.
Like at the end of 7 Remake, 95% of everything that happened in OG7 happened. Like they're still going to call them at the end of the day. At the end of FF7 Rebirth, that big thing still happened, and they're still. Cloud is probably still going to go snowboarding at the end of the day. Like,
except, you know what's funny? What's funny?
Yeah.
Is like now it kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
Because in the OG, it's like, how could you even go snowboarding after something like that? But I mean, if you deny it even happened in the first place.
Yes.
Then I suppose you could go snowboarding.
Yes.
But yeah, I think overall, everything we've touched on here when it comes to these trailers is just keep it as gameplay focused as possible. And like for story teases, just like tease a little bit. Like when it comes to like narratives in gaming, I don't think I've ever watched like a gaming trailer where like the narrative makes me want to jump in, right? Tales of Elliot. It is not the narrative that makes me want to play that game.
It's the game itself, dude. Like it looks fun. And that's the thing. It's like these, at the end of the day, and you talk about this a lot too, but these are video games, okay? You can have a game that has a decent to bare bones story, but the game is still good because it's fun. But if you have a game with a really great story, but the gameplay is boring and it sucks, it's a bad game.
2 thumbs down. 2 thumbs down. And again, like that's the other thing too, right? Is, how do I put this? Yeah, I think I forgot what I was trying to get at, but ultimately, that going off what you were saying, these are video games. First, so when you want to sell me on a video, because like, dude, if I want a good story, I've got bookshelves. Like I've got bookshelves. Like it's not hard to find a good story, but it is hard to find a great game. That's more rare. A great game is way more rare than a great story. We've been doing stories for 10,000 years. Like video games, not so much. So it's like nothing wrong with wanting to tell a good story. Video games, that's what it really gets me going. A great story combined with a great game. And as I talked about earlier in the podcast, like one of the best parts about gaming and narratives is the ability to like actually fully explore the settings and stuff. Again, if a book tells you you're in the kitchen, you're stuck in the spot that the book tells you. But like in the game, you have a little bit more agency there. You know what I mean? Like for instance, in like in Link's Awakening, if you steal from the shop, right, for the rest of the game, you're referred to as thief. Whatever you like, whatever you name Link, whatever, like
I never played Link's Awakening, so I didn't know that.
Like like little things like that will influence the narrative and stuff. But little stuff like that, and ultimately, again, it's like I look at Tales of Elliot. I'm very hopeful that there's a good narrative in there, and based on Team Asano's work and Octopath, I have a lot of faith that it is. but I'm going to give them my money because it looks like a fun interactive experience, not because it's like, I really could use a good romance right now. Like, like it's like that's not what's getting me. Like, I'm like, I've always wanted a friend fairy. Like, it's like, that's not what's doing it. Like, anyway, I'll leave it at that. You got anything to say?
Yeah. I think I'm good. Yeah, I think I talked about everything that I want to talk about. I think just to kind of sum up how we opened, like, I think HD-2D is like your title suggests, Square's doubling down on HD-2D, and literally in a sense of they showed 2 back-to-back HD-2D games, right? But also, like, I think this should be their money makers going forward.
Bread and butter.
Like you said, like their AAA titles should be the exceptions, right? 1 big AAA game a year, max.
And you know what the best part about that is companies like Square Enix can build good faith. So, for instance, the reason why I'm a Square Enix fan is like there's been a lot of good faith established over the years, right?
Yes.
But that not everyone's Nick Landy, and it's been, oh god, I just doxed myself. I don't give a fuck. I'm armed. Anyway, I not everyone is me has been playing Square Enix games for 30 years. You know what I'm saying? Not everyone's been playing Square Enix games for 30 years. Maybe Octopath or Tales of Elliot or one of these games will be someone's first Square Enix game, and they go, hey, you know what? This company's making good stuff. Let me try their AAA game. For instance, this was Shift Up's pipeline. Shift Up made a great mobile game for mobile gamers. Goddess of Victory, Nikki, right? And then when they released Stellar Blade, all those Goddess of Victory fans were like, hey, I like what Shift Up is serving. Let me give this a shot. And I think that's what could have... Yes. Yeah. And that's what could be achieved. I think Square Enix can figure out a pipeline similar to that, where it's, again, okay, somebody played Octopath and Tales of Elliot at the end of 2025 and the beginning of 2026. But at the end of 2026, Dragon Quest 12 comes out. And you're like, you know what? Square's been cooking all year. I'm going to give Dragon Quest a try for the first time. Like, building that kind of good faith.
It leads you into like, oh, let me see what the other Dragon Quest games are about. Yeah.
Exactly. But imagine, Andy, you just played Octopath Traveler 2, peak experience, and it's like, well, FF16 and Rebirth's coming out, and 14 has this new expansion, and I'll just play Octopath again. As opposed to, I just played Octopath 2, Square's dropping a AAA game in 6 months. It's a turn-based RPG, just like Octopath. I'm going to give that a shot. If I liked Octopath's combat, I'm sure I'm going to like Dragon Quest's combat. That sort of back and forth gets established. That's why Square could release a Final Fantasy every year in the PS1 days.
Yeah.
All right. This is like the third time we've tried to wrap up, but you and I do that a lot. We try to wrap up, but then one of us has a new idea to say, and then we kind of spiral from there.
Good. Yeah. No, it's fun. It's fun. That's what the Landy Lodge is all about. It's just
that's what we do in the lodge.
Let's just talk. Let's just get in here and let's just talk, man, and let's just see where it goes. But we talked about Robert Pattinson's Batman for 5 minutes.
We did
on an Octopath podcast, which is so random. Right, but it happened. You never know where you're gonna get here.
See, I need to have because I have these backdrops, right? Like of the games and stuff. It's like I feel like I need to have like something on command that I could have like pulled up Batman 2022 and pulled it, but it is what it is. It is what it is. Let me give some love to the chat. Shout out, Nekocore just got here, but shout out to them and Dark Dragon, Knuckles, Josh Z, Will, Hyrule. Trousers was here. Tarnished Patosai was here. Shout out to you guys. Major love to Josh Z for the $10 super chat. Like I say, you guys never have to do that. All I ask is that you're here to hang out. But of course, I do appreciate any support. That said, Andy Brew, what do you got going on? What's the Andy Brew forecast for the last few months of 2025?
Well, if you guys know me, I do a lot of first playthroughs. It's kind of just like my thing. So I'm playing through the Xenoblade series. We're knee deep in the Xenoblade Chronicles 2 right now. I just started Lies of P today, literally earlier this morning. We started that, and that's really really good so far. So those are gonna be two games I'll be streaming on my channel. I do have some stuff that I want to do in the back of my head. I'm just not ready to talk about it yet. I do have two big projects that I'm working on that I've been working on sporadically for the entire year.
You
But
sound like me right
like
now, dude. This is the same
I
bullshit I
yeah,
feed my audience.
I know I do. Like it's like I'll go hard on something for like a month, and then I will not pick it up for 5 months. Like I just what I do because it's like I just get caught up doing other things, and I
I
want
more
to do other
meant
things.
teasing.
So,
I more meant teasing unnamed projects
oh
behind the
yeah, yeah,
curtain.
that
I'm
too.
always like, oh, I'm
So
cooking.
yeah,
I'm cooking something, guys. I swear you'll
I
see it one
yeah
day, but I'm cooking something
yeah.
big.
Well, one thing is just an idea in my head. It hasn't actually I haven't been steamrolling, but the other two are like videos that I have been working on. One of them I've been like kind of here and there, just like doing stuff on for like a year, but I just like haven't fully committed to it yet. The other one, and so I'm doing things, but I'm a busy man. I got other things going on outside of here. I'm active maybe once or twice a week on here, so it's gonna be slow going forward, probably for a while. But I mean, yeah, mainly right now, just like streaming. And I've been doing a lot of uploading a lot of YouTube shorts and TikToks lately, so it's just nice, kind of like if you guys just want like snippets and like highlights of certain things that are happening during these games that I'm playing, you can get those, and if that's all you want, then that's all you want. It's cool. I'm cool with it. So I've been pumping out a lot of those lately because they're nice and easy. You just get them done and not worry about it. And yeah, that's kind of just me right now. I do plan on sometime this year after Xenoblade 2, I'm gonna start Persona 3 Reload.
Oh, I'm
That's gonna
so
happen.
excited for that, dude. I'm
Yeah.
excited to watch you play that.
Um, yeah, so I'm gonna probably
Peak.
take a break from Xenoblade and play that. I do have I am going to be doing a Halloween special this year, which I did not do one last year. I usually do one every year. Did not do one last year, but we're going to be doing a Halloween game this year. And it's not Little Nightmares 3, although I am very excited for that. It's actually something else. And yeah, I that's pretty much it. Next year, I'm thinking about revisiting some Zelda, maybe some 2D Zelda. I haven't announced that, so this is exclusive to here.
For those who
But
made it to
I'm
the
thinking
end.
about for those of you who made it to the end, here you go. I'm thinking about revisiting some Zelda and diving into some 2D Zelda that I've never played, and yeah, that's like pretty much it. So that's me.
Awesome, dude. Awesome. Looking
Yeah.
forward to all of it. Again, it's kind of crazy to think there's only a few months left in the year, but a Halloween stream will be fun. Um, I gotta talk to you about something. This is for those of you who make it to the end. Our 7-year anniversary is coming, and I want to do something pretty big for it. So it's been
I
7
think I
years at the
know.
lodge. Okay,
I'm there.
two biggest topics are Kingdom Hearts and Final Fantasy
Yeah.
7. Like seven's a big number around here. I feel like we gotta make it worth
Yeah.
it. We gotta
Yeah.
make it count.
Something will happen.
We'll
Yeah.
see. But we'll
Yeah.
we'll wrap up here for today. This was another fantastic episode. Again, a lot of love to you, Andy, for coming in here, always sharing your thoughts. And Josh Z, the $10 super chat that does not go unnoticed. Thank you, my good friend. Let me see. I completely ignored Twitch this whole time, but that's good because it was Data Rich and Mo, and then nobody else. I like it that way. Okay, good. Yeah, no one to raid. YouTube doesn't let me raid yet, so we'll just wrap it up here. All right, thanks for hanging out, everybody. Hope you enjoyed the episode as much as we did. We'll see you on the next one. I'm doing Chain of Memories stream tomorrow. Been scratching that itch lately, so I'll see you all.